Morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening to those on the eastern side of us. Welcome to the 2020 edition of the Voices of SDG16 Plus, Stories for Global Action. My name is Peter van Sluis. I'm the coordinator of the Civil Society Platform for Peacebuilding and State Building. We will start the event with a compilation video. So after that, I will give some introductory remarks. So let's look at the start video. Once again, it's my great pleasure to welcome you today to the Voice of SDG16 Plus. My name is Peter, I'm your moderator today, and I'm very happy to share this role with one of the 2019 Voices alumni, Ms. Bianca Pawatoy. This event is brought to you by 11 civil society organizations, the TAP Network, International Peace Institute, Life and Peace Institute, Nomati, Peace Direct, World Vision, GPAC, Safer World, Article 19, Pax Christi International, and the Civil Society Platform. The reason for organizing this event is the felt need to give voice and prominence to local practitioners and local peace builders, and to have them tell their stories on how they're implementing the 2030 agenda and how they see their work being crucial for achieving local impact on SDG16+. This event is the second iteration of the Voices of SDG16+ campaign and builds on the resounding success of last year's event, clearly also indicating the need and value of showcasing these voices in the context of what is now virtual HLPF discussions happening in New York. The theme of this year is SDG16+ and COVID-19, local actions for global solutions. We would have loved to have the event taking place in New York in the slipstream of the HLPF, but obviously for reasons that is not possible this year. This event was also put together in the context of the pandemic unfolding, so we have asked submitters of videos to prepare their submissions in a reflection on how COVID-19 is impacting on their work. Let me now give you a little bit of an insight on the run of the show this year. As you will understand, the key component of the event is to hear the voices of SDG16+, show the videos, and have them speak. We will hear also from two of the voices from last year, what we call Voices alumni, after which there will be plenty of time to go into a Q&A with the presenters and everybody who's joining this session. Allow me to give you a few housekeeping suggestions. Please all mute your microphones and raise your hand if you want to speak during the Q&A or ask your questions via the chat box. As already mentioned in the chat box, we will be live tweeting with using the hashtag Voices of SDG16+. And I will now hand over to Bianca, who will be your host for the next segment of the program. Bianca, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Peter. Hello, everyone. I am Bianca Pawatoy, a project officer of a Women Peace Security Initiative of the Center for Peace Education, Miriam College in the Philippines, and a proud Voices alumni. It is my great pleasure to be introducing 5 new stories of global action, our 2020 Voices of SDG16+. So without further ado, I am pleased to introduce our first finalist, Khaled Emam. He is the Executive Director of Justice Call for Rights and Development, co-chair of the United Nations Interagency Network on Youth Development, and co-chair of Youth Peace Security at Global Partnership for the Prevention of Armed Conflict. Being a skilled trainer and lecturer in human rights mechanisms, he is active in civil society law and the protection of civic space. So now let's get to know more about Khaled and his work.
The Middle East has been the world's most violent region in the past 9 years. There are about 100 million people in the MENA region directly affected by war and conflict. We can clearly see this in Iraq, Syria, Libya, and Yemen, and many other places. Unfortunately, most of the victims are the youth. As a justice goal, we believe that the only way to prevent conflicts and build peace is by respecting human rights and universally recognizing the fundamental freedoms for every citizen. We strongly believe that youth have the most important role to play in reducing the suffering of our people at the local level. And SDG16 Plus provide a unique opportunity, if used well, to strengthen the rule of law at the national and international levels and encourage the establishment of fair, effective, and inclusive institutions.
We're a community of lawyers, human rights defenders, and researchers committed to developing civil society capacity, building peace, and advocating for human rights in the MENA region. Justice Corps works to promote human rights and the rule of law through the localization of SDG16. This is done by enabling young people and organizations led by young people to drive sustainable change towards a peaceful, democratic, and just society. So let's have a look at our local projects.
Our focus group are young people, as our conviction is that positive lasting change comes only from them.
The Peace and Justice Education Program, which is our principal engagement activity for young people. It builds awareness among the Egyptian youth about justice and peace, and enables them to implement various initiatives and interventions on their own, in order to spread and defend the values of justice and peace. It provides a free space for learning, inspiration, and reflection.
Today, we are here to amplify the efforts of youth and make their voices heard from all around the world, especially from MENA region. Libya has been witnessing armed conflict since many years, where the youth are clearly marginalized in peace-building process. In the future, we are seeking to bridge the gap between international commitments and to accelerate the implementation from the national governments and local authorities. Currently, we are working on the VNRs and thematic reviews with the major groups and other stakeholders from United Nations to ensure the youth are included in the SDG16.
This is a new age for the people in Sudan, offering hope and optimism to the millions of youth in Sudan.
This transitional period after a year of peaceful protest is pursuing a new social contract with the people in Sudan, prioritizing peace and economic reform. However, we cannot hope for the transformation and reforms without peace and stability, human rights, and effective governance led by the youth themselves. And I think we need to engage the youth in the decision making about the issues that are effective in their life. And I think it's very critical and important to the democratic transitional of the power in Sudan.
Those in conflict areas are most at risk of suffering devastating loss from COVID-19. As a result, we ask the international community to support our youth. We are still actively engaged with youth organizations from the MENA region by working online towards justice.
I now give the floor to Khaled.
Thanks, Bianca. Thanks, Peter. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. First of all, I would like to thank SDG16 Voices Partner for giving us this opportunity to be here. And let's start, as indicated in the video, like Justice School working to promote peaceful and inclusive society by educating young people and student university on human rights, peace building, and justice. And that's because we believe that peace building begins with respecting human rights for all. And if we take the Arab Spring as example, young people during the Arab Spring were leading a peaceful protest and asking for a change. But unfortunately, many governments responding with a large scale of violence, and this didn't end the conflict, because if we want to end the conflict, we need to solve the problem that caused these conflicts. And we have learned it through these movements since 2011 that young people with a little access to decision making, young people with no freedom of speech, with no freedom of expression, with no freedom of assembly, they are more likely to join the radical groups because there is no other spaces. And here SDG16 came and helped us to make the strong links between conflict and human rights by calling to end the violence, at the same time calling to promote rule of law and justice. A second thing that I want to mention here, that SDG16 plus helped us to reduce the risk that we are working on. SDG16 provide like a global framework. Most of the countries have their own SDGs national plans, which is make it easier for civil society to work. So for Justice Call and the other civil society organizations that work in non-democratic countries, we cannot work directly in human rights. We cannot say that you are working in human rights, but it's easy, or it's a bit easy to say that we are working SDGs, so to provide a safe, a new safe area to work on SDGs and human rights. And now I'm going to just highlight some challenges that we are facing now in MENA region in general. And I think the biggest challenge that we are facing that the limitation of the civic space. So the authorities in many countries, Middle East, are still attacking civil society organizations, human rights defenders, which is unfortunately holding the implementation of SDG 16 and also the SDGs in general. We cannot implement SDGs without civil society organization. And as a young people in Middle East, you are suffering from the lack of the public spaces, civic spaces, private spaces, even digital spaces. And we believe that like civil society organization, especially youth organization, other organizations led by young people, they are playing the most important role in the ground to implement human rights and justice and peace. So they must be protected. And finally, I'm going to finish with the impact of COVID-19 on our work. So likely we were able to continue our work, our training course with our students remotely, like through online platforms during the pandemic. But this showed us three main challenges. The first challenge that not most of the youth doesn't have access to the internet. And second challenge, even if they have the access to the internet, many young people doesn't have resource money to pay for internet package. And last, an important one, digital security. So internet is not safe space at all now in Middle East. Many governments still attacking these spaces, trying to control social media and digital conference tools and all this kind of stuff. That's why now Justice Call with GPAC member in MENA region holding a training course for our members on how to be safe in internet, training course covering the digital security tools and how to be physically and also digital safe during using the internet. So I'm gonna end here. I know like time is very short, and thanks so much again for SDG16 Voices Partner.
Thank you very much, Khaled, for that very good presentation, and thank you for sharing your work and highlighting, you know, the importance of justice and human rights and laying the foundation, peace building, and the challenges you now face. So, our next, I'm pleased to introduce our next finalist. Ola Al-Sakaf is the Program Manager of Youth Without Borders Organization for Development and the Ambassador of Peace First Network and member of the international organization Reimagining Society. She has been living in Taiz, a city under siege, since 2016, Working on youth leadership and peace-building projects, she has participated in different regional and international forums to represent the Yemeni youth. Let's learn more about Ola through her video and presentation.
Hello everybody, my name is Zula Sakaf and I'm the Program Manager of Youth Without Borders Organization for Development. It is a Yemeni civil society organization working on enhancing the role of youth to enable them to play significant roles in their societies. Through our projects, we are willing to create societies which are free from fear and violence, and ensuring that all human beings can fulfill their potential in dignity and equality. I guess what we are calling for go along with the Sustainable Development Goal 16. Yes, we both call for peaceful, inclusive, and fair communities. Enhancing community-based mechanism in Yemen is an example of those projects in which we are trying to support youth initiatives to implement a project that enhance the community base. Through this project, we also enhance the role of youth in their societies and also reach marginalized people and community groups, including IDPs and people with disabilities. Another project is furthering the Youth Peace and Security Agenda. It is a program funded by the UNFPA. It works on the UN Resolution 2250. This project highlights the voices of Yemeni youth. Yemeni youth voices are not heard, although they are about 70% of the population. We almost work with all the community groups. We focus on women and ending GBV. We know that a lot of people are killed because of armed conflict, but do you know that 3 more times people are killed in non-conflict settings? So we are trying to end all these forms of violence to help people to live in safer communities. The year 2020 was a turning point for the whole world because of the outbreak of COVID-19. So in this space, we are trying to support our communities. We are implementing awareness raising program to raise the awareness of people on how they can protect themselves. We are also providing marginalized people with hygiene kits. We also support the peace processes by supporting the UN General Security Call in his call for a complete ceasefire. We are trying to get all the parties to work together against the virus instead of killing each other. What we do is out of our community responsibility. We will continue our work despite all the challenges we face, and one day we will live in the community that we have ever dreamed to live in. When there is a will, there is a way.
Thank you for that. Al-Sakaf, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning or good evening, everybody. At the beginning, I really want to thank you for presenting my video and let my voice be heard. My name is Ola Sakaf. I'm the Program Manager of Youth Without Borders Organization for Development. It is a Yemeni youth-led organization working on enhancing the role of youth to enable them to play significant roles in their societies and create safer communities. We work on peace building, GBV, strategic partnership, national policy making, and research conduct. As you watch the video, you see that the ongoing war in Yemen adds and creates new challenges for people, including us, who work to enhance the sustainable development goals. However, the war made us stronger. We watched people suffering of hunger. They did not have access to energy or clean water. They missed the essential services, schools were destroyed, and youth were hopeless. So while our government was in its last leg, we took the responsibility to help our people. Another challenge that we face is the lack of funds. Most of the funds are for emergency aid here in Yemen. I guess we overpassed this space and we have to start working on development projects. We have to start rebuilding. The Sustainable Development Goals were and still a guide for us to create peaceful societies. Those goals are our goals. We who live during the understand the importance of peace. As a youth activist of a youth have been many projects to enhance the Sustainable Development Goals 16. As I mentioned in my video, I work on a project funded by the UNFPA. It is furthering the youth, peace, and security agenda. This project works on the UN Resolution 2250. Another project also mentioned in the video, it is a project funded by Safer World, enhancing community peace mechanism in Yemen. This project works with youth initiatives. And we have also implemented many other projects to enhance sustainable development goals and create peaceful, equal, and inclusive communities. As you know, the outbreak of COVID-19 and the record of the first case in Yemen in April 2020 adds new struggles to the amount of suffering of Yemeni people. The war affected the infrastructure, including the health sector. Many hospitals were destroyed and people lost their jobs. While many people depend on daily income, it was very difficult for them to stay at homes. For us, also, it was not easy to work online due to the internet connections problems here in Yemen. So we have implemented many projects to provide the health sector with logistic supports. Many other organizations have implemented a lot of projects all around Yemen to support Yemeni people. Yemen, the home of the worst humanitarian crisis, is in need for your support. We have to work together to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and save 30 million lives of people from the worst. We understand that it will not only take time, but also it requires hard work. But anyway, we will do it. Because when there is a will, there is a way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ola, for sharing this story of hope and the many projects you are doing right now. Our next finalist is Patrick Bwire, a Ugandan peace practitioner and former Rotary Peace Fellow at Duke University, USA. Being passionate about peace building, conflict transformation, youth empowerment, and addressing land conflicts, he is the GPAC Regional Liaison Officer, Eastern and Central African Regional Network at Center for Conflict Resolution and member of the Board of Advisors to Development International USA. Patrick's personal mission is to aspire, inspire, and conspire for peace and development. Here is Patrick's story.
SDGs can only make sense if they translate it to a meaningful change in the lives of the people at community level. And this is where the biggest gap is. We as Center for Conflict Resolution, as a civil society, our main work has been trying to complement government and other actors towards filling this gap, trying to transform the lives of people at the community. It is a project that looks specifically at the most marginalized, at those at the most risk of sliding back into violence. Youth and younger adults at the center of implementing the project. They decide what needs to be done in their particular context and how it needs to be done. And here we are trying to localize global agendas and globalize local voices, because we are able to bring out their voices and their needs and their best practices for the rest of the world to learn. The research to review Uganda's progress on the realization of SDG16 plus. This has been done ahead of the voluntary national review of 2020, and would say Uganda is on the right path to realizing SDGs. In terms of peace, there is now relative peace, especially after managing the violent armed conflicts and being successful in disarmament processes. At strategic level, there is a comprehensive framework. During the research, we managed to come up with a model for localization of SDGs because we have always sung this song, and many actors appreciate the need for SDG localization to make meaningful change of SDGs on the ground, but we seem not to be knowing how exactly to do the localization. So this model is based on the local voices from one of the districts, that is Kabong district, where we're asking them what exactly should localization look like, how should it be done, and what should exactly be done to ensure that SDGs are localized and make sense on the ground. It has really disrupted the development and peace programs that we had. But on a positive note, we have worked with the groups like the Peace Champions, who have tried to come up with innovative ways of addressing violence and preventing violent conflicts, even amidst the pandemic. For example, we have the Peace Champions in Karamoja who have crafted a message of stop raids. If you go out to raid and then you come back, you're likely to bring COVID-19. And this has been embraced by the community, and we are seeing a reduction at the moment in terms of cattle raiding. Do not leave SDG16 behind.
Sorry, Patrick, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, and greetings from Uganda. We have seen the video, and for now, I'll just give a few additions to the video. In the video, we try to bring out the importance of SDG16 as a good guiding tool for implementation of peace and development projects. But we also note that these SDGs can only make sense if they translate into meaningful change on the ground. And then we say this is why we come in to complement government efforts. So we give one of a few projects to demonstrate how we are doing this. One is the one we call the Peace Champions Project that is implemented in a region called Karamoja. It is by statistics the poorest in the country and the most conflict prone. So we have worked with the youth and young adults who were previously engaged in gun violence. Transformed their lives through a two-way approach of looking at the mindset, that is the root cause, and the drivers of conflicts, where we've engaged them in income-generating activities. There has been a successful project which we have implemented with GPAC, funded by IFA Civic, and at the moment the youth are able to come out to testify and say we're champions of violence. Now we are champions of peace. We are continuing with this program and through trainings and other capacity building interventions. We also try to bring out, to highlight one of the key interventions that we have recently done. That is the study on Uganda's progress on SDG16 plus that we have done with GPAC ahead of the Uganda's Voluntary National Review 2020. And a number of, we did the validation and we've launched the report, which I will share the link with you. In the report, we try to bring out the key findings, looking at the peaceful, just, and inclusive societies. One of the key issues that came up is that, yes, at strategic level, Uganda is on course and has just had good progress. But there are a number of issues. For example, community level conflicts are still on the rise. We also lack a specific infrastructure for peace, specifically the national peace policy. That is an issue that came out strongly from the research that we made. We also came up with the localization model to highlight how localization should be done, because this is one of the key issues that need to be done, and the community was able to bring out their voices on how exactly it should be done. And then the video also recommends prioritization of peace building issues, peace building and conflict prevention, because we realize that even Uganda's own report admits that the progress on SDG16 has stagnated. And this is worrying to us because we know SDG16 is a bedrock to the realize and a prerequisite for the realization of even other SDGs. And we also come up with the recommendation about enhancing awareness, enhancing meaningful participation, collaboration, and this is something we can do as civil society, private sector, UN, and other government actors. We also try to bring out the context of COVID-19 because from the findings, we observe that COVID-19 is likely to have a longer lasting impact on the ground, especially among the youth and the women who have been engaged in the informal sector. But we also bring out the positive element of it and the key messages that came from the study. One is on the prioritization of peace and conflict prevention and ensuring that we don't leave SDG 16 behind. Thank you very much for now.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for reiterating the importance of localizing SDGs and the many work that you do in closing that gap. Now we get to hear from Loretta Ahukpeme. Loretta is a dynamic leader based in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, who is passionate about women, girls, peace building, and care for the elderly. She is the Deputy National Coordinator, Partners for Peace in the Nigeria Delta River State Coordinator, West African Network for Peace Building, and Executive Director of Our Lady of Perpetual Help Initiative. Loretta works with different CSOs and the government in driving the localization of SDG through innovations and technology around health, environment, and gender with peace building at the center. So let's hear Loretta's story.
Loretta Ahukpeme. I am the Executive Director of Our Lady of Perpetual Help Initiative, a non-governmental organization registered in 2011 with the Corporate Affairs Commission in Nigeria to carry out thematic areas of gender, health, environment, and peace building. You will agree with me that peace building is an encompassing word, and it cuts across these three major areas, which is gender, health, and environment. We have been carrying out advocacies, sensitizations, campaigns in different forms, in different ways, engaging policymakers, engaging communities, engaging traditional rulers, religious leaders to ensure that we have peace. We have also engaged with youths, women, men, children to ensure that they know what peace building is all about and be able to resolve small, little conflicts within their communities. We have been facing has been the total lockdown, sit at home, make that nobody moves. So when everybody sits at home, of course, we cannot do much. But once in a while, when they have been, ease in movement, we have gone into communities to sensitize on COVID-19. The major challenges have been transportation, that is logistics, to move around, and people have been afraid also to come out to get what people are saying about COVID-19. We didn't want to rely on the social media alone, so we had to do a community follow-up, and this community follow-up is house-to-house engagement, and most families refuse to open their doors to anybody because of the fear of COVID-19. And then, because of that, we have also maintained our presence in the social media to make sure that we address the issues coming with COVID-19, especially the rape cases, the violations, and the domestic violence. We have gone on radio, on television to talk to people to make sure that, at the end of the day, all of us understand where we are coming from. We have tried to engage even policymakers, even with the little work we had against the major issue of rape and violence against girls and women. We joined other civil society organizations like the Malaria World Day. We were able to release a press release. At the International Women's Day, we were able to do a little program, and also for the World Environment Day, we were also able to do a little program by planting trees to reduce the climate change effect. Initiative, the staff, the volunteers have been working around the clock, even from their homes, to make sure that this COVID-19 is taken care of. We have been doing a lot of sensitization and campaigns on social media. We have also done community mobilizations. We have gone around communities when we could, because the lockdown has been a serious one and the government has insisted that everybody sit at home. So once in a while we have been able to do a little community movement, and then to make sure that people understand what COVID-19 is about. 16 has given us a lot of platform, to engage communities on peace building processes. We have trained a lot of people, made sure that COVID-19 pandemic is reduced to the barest minimum. Thank you.
Thank you. Loretta, the floor is yours. Just want to remind to unmute if you are.
Hello, everybody.
No, we hear you.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, my name is Loretta Hokbeme. I work in Nigeria, a Lady of Perpetual Help Initiative, SDG16, making sure that, ensuring that, peace processes are being followed in resolving conflicts. We have been trained by so many organizations, Partners for Peace in the Niger Delta, West African Network on Peace Building, and also Women, Peace and Security Network. We have been working round the clock to make sure that peace are maintained in our communities. We have engaged, we have done a lot in these areas by training a lot of women and youth, even children, on knowing, especially the children, knowing the names of the parts of their bodies, so that anybody that touches them at the wrong part they should shout, they should talk about it. They should talk to their parents, they should talk to their teachers, they should talk to anybody, all adults, they should speak to them, speak out and leave the tradition of silence, because that's what encourages the perpetrators. And also we have trained a lot of women on the cult activities happening around the Niger Delta. And some of these women are of the opinion that, or the resolve we had was that they were going to go home and speak to their children, though they know that some of their children had outgrown them and wouldn't listen to them, but they were not going to give up. They said they were going to try their best and make sure that they speak with their children. And also we trained some community women leaders to make sure that they go back to their communities and engage the community-based organizations, both the men, the women, the community leaders, the youth, the children, so that everybody is moving in the same pace when it comes to peace building process. And we also know that it is a stage-by-stage thing. It is not a one snapshot issue. So it follows the processes of the analysis of the conflict and then getting to, fact finding and then getting to the resolving issues itself. And then we have also, and when it gets to the challenges we have been having, some of these cult issues, rises because of the politician that promises them heaven on earth and engages them during with their opponent. So these politicians give them a lot of money, and at the end, when they have finished using them, they drop them. So these promises, when they can't meet up anymore with, or the politicians are not giving them money anymore, what they do is they now go to the communities and start harassing everybody and unleash mayhem on every member of the community, because they have to keep themselves upkeep. They have to give themselves upkeep. So they now you do a lot of things to make sure that they get money and they pass day by day. And then also another issue we have about challenge is the funding. We don't have enough more funds to move around communities. And also when you engage these cultists and these youths, and some of them are actually willing to come out, then there's no starter packs for them. So if you train them on skills and you don't give them a starter pack, they cannot go out on their own to fend for themselves. And also they cannot also leave this cult cartel, because they feel that there will be reprisal attacks on them. So also it is a very major issue for us, and this identity issue of identity, because of what has been happening in the Niger Delta on the environmental degradation issue, on the part of the oil producing companies, is a very big issue for them, because there's no royalty coming to them as at when it's supposed to come, and because their land has been degraded, the seas has been polluted, the land has been polluted, they cannot farm, they cannot fish, because majorly the Niger Delta people are farmers and they are fishermen, so they can't go to the sea anymore to fish. The oil spillage has damaged all their seas and their rivers. And also, when it gets to unemployment, it is so large here that sometimes we don't know how to contain it. And then for what we have been doing, we have continued to engage different people, policymakers, community leaders, the youth themselves, the women, the children, to make sure that even the primary school children and secondary school children do not join these cult groups, because they are seeing it as they see them spending a lot of money, so they keep making sure that they join, and they are being recruited every day. So we try as much as possible to make sure that whatever advocacies we are doing, that we go round the whole communities, and what we have achieved so far has been wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Loreto, for sharing your many work. Okay. And highlighting, the link between GBV and peace building, one of the pluses in SDG16+. Okay, last but definitely not the least, concluding this year's Voices of SDG16+, is Gadanfar Kamanji, a practicing lawyer and country director of the International Legal Foundation West Bank. He works with lawyers to develop their legal abilities, helps them conduct legal research, and builds small focus groups within the offices to work on various legal matters. He has also assisted in training 200 lawyers from the General Assembly of the Palestinian Bar Association on the best practices of a criminal defense attorney. Let's get to know more about his work, and let's all watch this.
في الوقت الذي نواجه فيه جائحة كورونا معا، أصبحت رؤية الهدف رقم 16 من أهداف التنمية المستدامة أكثر أهمية من أي وقت مضى، ذلك أن هذا الهدف يتمثل في بناء مجتمعات سلمية قائمة على التنمية المستدامة، وذلك من خلال توفير الوصول للعدالة للجميع، وبناء مؤسسات فاعلة خاضعة للمساءلة وشاملة على جميع المستويات. لذلك نحن في المؤسسة القانونية الدولية نكافح من أجل إنشاء نظام دفاع جنائي فعال يحمي حقوق الأفراد ويهدف إلى تعزيز سيادة القانون.
كل العالم عم يتأثر بوباء كورونا كوفيد-19. انتشار الفيروس والإجراءات اللازمة لمكافحته كان لها أثر كبير على كافة مناحي الحياة، بس بجهودنا جميعاً وإيد بإيد رح نقدر نتغلب عليه. في ظل حالة الطوارئ، محامين المؤسسة القانونية الدولية في فلسطين بالإضافة لكتير محامين في مختلف محافظات الوطن طالعين يساعدوا أطفال وناس موقوفين يحموا حقوقهم ويحاولوا يرجعوهم لبيوتهم وعائلاتهم. بالرغم من الوضع وإجراءاته المشددة وصعوبة التنقل بين المحافظات والمدن، سمحت الحكومة للمحامين بأوقات معينة بالمساعدة في إخلاء سبيل المحتجزين. وبنلتزم بالإجراءات الصحية وبنتبع التعليمات لنتمكن من متابعة عملنا وتكريس أنفسنا لحماية حقوق أطفال وموقوفين ودعم عمل قطاع العدالة بأكمل. في أوقات الأزمات بتكون مسؤوليتنا أكبر، بنحاول نخلي كل شخص موجود مع أهله وعيلته بدل ما إنه يكون موقوف في نظارة أو سجن، يكون في المكان اللي بيقدر يساعد فيه المجتمع وعيلته في هاي الظروف الصعبة. أسرة المؤسسة القانونية الدولية تتمنى لكم السلام.
Thank you for that. Gadanfar, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hi all. I'm very excited to be here and to represent the International Legal Foundation. I'm Gadanfar Kamanji, the ILF country director in Palestine. We are a team of 20 defense attorney and staff covering all of the West Bank in Palestine from 4 offices, Ramallah, Jenin, Nablus, and Hebron. We provide quality criminal defense for the people who can't pay or who don't have the resources to pay for attorney. And many of our clients are actually children and youth. SDG16 is the center of our work. We are fighting for access to justice every day. We believe that anyone arrested has the right to attorney to protect his right. When we start our work here in 2010, there was a huge gap in access to justice in the Palestinian court system. A lot of people don't have a lot of information about their rights. Even now, tens of thousands of people still don't have access to attorney yearly. That's why we are advocating for sustainable legal aid system in Palestine that doesn't leave anybody behind. COVID-19, of course, made everyone's work harder. But what we do during this time is important. People in prisons and detention centers, they are at high risk. They are in places where it's so crowded, and also they don't have the chance to even like wash their hands or all the time or stay apart. It was very positive that the president of Palestine issued an amnesty to release a lot of prisoners and to prevent coronavirus outbreak. We followed up on that and in that announcement to make sure that everyone eligible to this announcement actually got out. During this time, like on the one hand, the attorneys or the lawyers have the special permission to move during the lockdown, and they have emergency hearing. But on the other hand, there is a lot of attorneys who couldn't move during this lockdown because of all of these concerns and restrictions. So it was very important that we set up an emergency center in Hebron, just like to help the people. For the people who are behind the bars, we reach to their families and we help them. And also for the attorneys who couldn't reach to their clients, we coordinate with them to help in their cases. We also focused on kids. This spring, my colleague, he could release out a 15 years old client from the detention centers and let him go back with his mom. So it was, for example, this one is, for example, it was a huge relief for us, and we worked and we followed with the juvenile prosecutor, just like to try to discourage kids from being arrested for breaking a curfew. Also, we have a good dialogue with the justice stakeholders and officials so that we can work together just to protect the people's rights under these circumstances. And we have what seems like the second wave of coronavirus, and it's really important to advocate on this side with the justice stakeholders and the officials to continue for protecting the others. Finally, a lot of people, they maybe don't know what legal aid does. So we made this video to show how and why we are committed to justice for all. And that it really matters to defend someone's right. It shouldn't matter if you have money or don't. The matter is your right. So we want to go to get people back with their families and to have institutions that are fair and protect everyone and to don't leave anyone behind. Thank you for this chance.
Thank you, Galanfar, for sharing your capacity building work. So now we have heard all the 5 stories, and we've seen the importance of safeguarding human rights and access to justice, the importance of localizing and addressing the gaps of the implementation of the SDGs. We have also seen the ever-evolving needs of inclusive peace, from humanitarian aid to development programs, especially now amidst the context of this global pandemic. Now I give the floor back to my co-moderator. So Peter, please take it away.
Thank you, Bianca, and that was pretty awesome, I would say. I mean, these stories are convincing to me, I hope for you as well. Some of the takeaways quickly, I mean, globalize local voices, that's what we're trying to do, and that's why we're organizing this event. So that is, I think, extremely important. And also, I think that Patrick was saying that we should not leave SDG16 behind. I think that is also a good slogan for us to move forward as community. So thanks for that. We ask you all to come up with questions for the Q&A session, but there will be a short intermission because I want to also introduce some of our alumni, the SDG Voices of 2019 who have joined this call. So Kasia, are you on the call? Can you activate your video? And can you tell a little bit on how you, what has happened since the Voices campaign in 2019 before we show your video also, the short video that you prepared?
Sure. So since last year, I've been able to work. I'll give a little bit of context first. I'm a documentary filmmaker and founder of an organization called the Global Sunrise Project, which focuses on highlighting stories of sustainable development and leaders at the grassroots level to inspire action towards the SDGs. So since last year, I've been able to focus on developing my next film concept, which has been inspired by some of the stories I've encountered at the Voices of SDG16. So my focus will be on peace and climate action and how the two are some of the greatest threats of our time and how we need immediate action on both of these issues. So that has been my focus, and you can show the video.
Okay, looking at the technical people.
Hi, my name is Kasia Sequoia Slavner. I'm the founder of the Global Sunrise Project, which is a media organization that harnesses the power of solution-oriented storytelling to empower people to take action on the SDGs. And last year, I was proud to become one of the 2019 Voices of the SDG16+. Since last year, my focus as a media creator and peace advocate has been about the intersection between climate action and peace. Last September, I spoke at the UN student observance of the International Day of Peace about the campaigns my organization runs to highlight SDGs 13, climate action, and 16, peace. I continue to lend my creative skills and platform to organizations supporting peace, climate action, and youth engagement in peace processes. I've been focusing on campaigns surrounding defunding military expenditures in favor of sustainable development efforts. I've also been in development for a new feature-length documentary, which I can't publicly announce yet, but I can say that at the core of the message, it will be about building a movement for peace. This global pandemic has been a convergence of some of the greatest threats of our time, exacerbating existing inequalities and showing us where the biggest gaps in our societies are. We're called now to create a just, peaceful, and equitable world. And that's the importance of the Voices of the SDG16+.
Great, Kasia. This is a beautiful video as well. Can you tell us already a little bit on the new project, or is it still a question mark?
Still under wraps. I'm working on development currently. I have an executive producer on board who's an environmentalist filmmaker, and I'm really excited to announce it publicly. I'll share it with you, so everybody can have the information shortly.
We will stay tuned for that news then. Thank you, thank you. Let me then switch on to Ismail Mohammed. Ismail, your video is on. Please tell us how Voices 2019 has changed your life.
Okay, let me say congratulations to the winners of this year of Voice of SDG16+, and also Peter and Bianca for their moderating. So let me first play the video, then I will say a little bit.
I'm not sure whether we have your video on.
Okay, just let me explain so what we have done since last year.
I think SDG, Somaliland SDG 16 plus coalition, including CPA, they attended last year for the Voices of SDG 16 plus, and the opportunity, thanks to the opportunity we have got, since last year we have focused on 2 areas: localizing the SDGs into understandable language and also engaging the international platforms. One of the achievements we have reached since last year are including that we transferred the experience we got from the UN high-level political forum side events into the local civil society and the government, including that we supported that the Somaliland government to host the first national SDG summit, and also we succeeded to include the capital city of Somaliland, which hosts nearly 2 million people, to sign and endorse Peace in Our Cities campaign. Also, we have trained more than 37 youth leaders who advocate the SDG 16 plus targets, including SDG 16.1, SDG 16.3, SDG 16.6, and SDG 16.8. The other things we have got that we engage with different international networks, including that we become a member for the Alliance for Peace Building, Global Fragility Act Coalition, Youth for Peace and Security Coalition, and other international partners. We become member for those coalitions. And during, after the 2019 Voice of SDG 16 plus, CPA attended different international advocacies, including the 2019 US Advocacy Day, that different international organizations were requesting from the Congress members to approve the Global Fragility Act that Mercy Corps and Alliance for Peace Building were leading. So those are the things we have done since our 2019 Voice of SDG 16. And also thanks to Jordan, I think he's here, for his advices when it comes to the SDG 16 plus in our area.
I'm just checking with the technical people whether we have your video ready, otherwise we will show it. I'm getting a negative on that one. Sorry, Ismail, we didn't plan for it to have it on screen. But we will have it on the website of the Voices of SDG 16 plus featured. So please go to the website and look at this wonderful contribution in follow-up on Ismail's work last year at the Voices. Before going to questions from the people here, I want to ask a question to all presenters. So I'll bring you back on the screen. If you would have to make one message or one question that you want to raise to policymakers at the UN, what would you tell them? What would be your message? What would be your key ask? Can I go first back to Khaled?
Yeah, do you hear me, Peter?
I hear you.
Yeah, so as I mentioned during my presentations, most or the biggest problem that we face is protection. So if I want to ask the international community, I will ask to do more advocacy on the protection level. We need to protect civil society organizations, especially that lead by young people, because it's something very essential. And without protection, most of these organizations just focusing about the security aspects and how to be safe. And we need instead to continue work and to move forward. So that's what I will ask.
Ola, can we go to you next? What would be your key message or your key ask to people at the UN or policymakers that you would want to put forward?
I would ask them to rethink of how do they work and their decisions. They have to rethink of the way they are making their decisions and controlling the work. Their decisions are important and they can affect the lives of millions of people. So what I'm asking for is rethinking.
That's short and sweet. Thank you. Patrick, over to Uganda. Your key message or your key question.
Yeah, thank you very much. My key message would be to prioritize peace building and conflict prevention. At Center for Conflict Resolution and GPAC, we believe that this is the most effective and cost-effective strategy of building peace. We are seeing the trend now in Uganda and a number of other countries. They are adopting a model for prioritization based on relative return on investment. But this is not a good message for peace building, because it's not very easy to quantify peace in a monetary terms. So we needed to prioritize funding for peace building, SDG16 plus in particular. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Loud and clear. Loretta, can I switch to you? You have to unmute yourself.
Loretta, please turn on your microphone.
Okay. Can I go ahead now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Actually, what I want to tell the world leaders is that peace building is the key, to recovery from this pandemic. And as the world is, changing, we also need to re-strategize to make sure that, peace building becomes the center of making sure that, or ensuring that our lives comes back to normal. And while we are on that also, we need to see that it was a just recovery for everybody, that all big businesses will have to have a rethink and make sure that all their policies are people-oriented and centered around making sure that the life of everybody is protected and protect the environment, as well as our global health is protected and in our local communities. That's all I can tell them. Thank you.
Thank you. Final voice, Gandapal.
Okay, thank you. My message will be work together to commit to SDG 16, make the justice and the fair trial reality for all, expansion of legal aid, and we cannot have a justice for all without equality legal aid.
Thank you. Short and sweet, but very convincing. Thank you, Nana. We'll now go into the question and answer session. I will be co-moderating it with my colleague Bianca. I see a raised hand by Jordan. Is that a question, Jordan, you want to come in, or is it just that you're very supportive of what we're doing?
This popped.
That was just a thumbs up.
Appreciate
just saying,
it.
Well done, everyone.
Good. Thanks, Jordan.
Okay, we have a question. Is anyone working on SDG 16.10, which is, I looked it up, ensuring public access to information and protect fundamental freedoms in accordance with national legislation and international agreements? So it's for any of the 5 finalists to answer.
Can I come in?
Yes, please, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, in Uganda, we are working on issues to do with the fundamental freedoms and access to information, because we want as much as possible for communities to participate, but we realize that communities cannot be able to participate if they are not aware. They will not have the ability to do that. So we do a lot of awareness to give information to communities. And in terms of fundamental freedoms, we work in Uganda and Eastern and Central Africa. And as many of you are aware, the civic space is not good enough. So we do a lot of advocacy around ensuring a conducive environment for CSOs and other actors. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
next question comes from my colleague Sabina from Cordate, who says that this is directed to Ola. You mentioned 3 times people are killed outside of the conflict areas and that you adjust the strategies to this. Is this also relevant for other organizations like the network that Calent presents in the MENA region? So it's a question not only to Ola, but also maybe to Khaled. You work in difficult circumstances. how do you adjust strategies? How do you adapt whatever you do in a volatile context in which you work? Ola, maybe you
Okay,
first.
so for the first part of the question, I mentioned that 3 more people are killed in non-conflict settings. As you know that a lot of people are killed because of gender-based violence actions, and a lot of people are also killed every day and commit suicide because of bullying in them. So a lot of people are killed, and there are many different forms of conflicts. We have armed conflicts and many other forms of conflicts. So in our work, we are trying to end all these forms of conflict against people. And okay, this is the first part of the question, and the other, I guess, is for Khaled.
Yeah, maybe Khaled, I don't know whether you want to reflect on it as well, on your work in the broader MENA region and how you adjust strategies to the fluctuating context.
Thanks, Peter. For me, well, my network started to be bad. So for sure, like we are, this is part of our focus, like people who came outside conflict areas. So there is many areas that's not conflict, but also it's useful community and I can just take like a small part of this problem. People who are killing because of their opinion or because of their background or because of their. We did a lot of work on this, and we were advocating more for people, and for example, in during the Corona pandemic, many people was killing in this non-conflict area. For many different reasons, because people was like just posting some Facebook posts or Twitter about some different issues in MENA region. It's a very sensitive topic, so I can't share more here, but I'm happy to have a separate conversation on that.
Thank you, Khaled. Next question is from Sophia from the Philippines. And that is related to the pandemic, where people's mobility are constrained. How do you think that youth can engage or be part of advancing SDG16 plus in their respective communities? So I think this is a question from all our finalists. How do you engage or work with young civil society actors or young peace builders? Maybe Ola, I know that you're working with this, so you may want to go start first.
Yeah. So I guess youth have the abilities to be engaged in finding solutions for all the problems that we have in our world. We have to start believing in youth and what they can do. Actually, in our battle against COVID-19, youth played a very important role here in Yemen. I have worked with many youth initiatives and provide them with small grants. They have implemented many projects. They are working very hard. They have brilliant ideas. So yes, youth can be engaged, and maybe they can produce things better than what adults and other community groups can do.
Thank you, Ola. Anybody else who wants to speak about the role of youth and young people in the work that you're doing?
Can I say something?
Patrick, please.
Yes, we appreciate that we are faced with the COVID-19, but what we are doing is to come up with innovative ways on how we can be able to continue engaging. The good thing is that we have a number of peace structures on the ground. These are small units at community level, so they are able to reach out to their peers in what the strategy we call door-to-door. So groups of 2 or 3, they are able to reach out to their friends and disseminate the message. We're also using local radio stations to reach out to the youth. And much as the movement has been constrained, of course, we are told to observe social distancing, but it's not social distancing in a way. It is mainly physical distancing. So for us, I think social distancing has continued. People have continued to network on social platforms, and this is where now we are passing the message to reach out to a number of youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Justin from Women in Alternative Action has raised her hand. Not sure if this is also a question.
Justine is one of our last year's alumni as well. So Justine, question or comment?
Question, please.
Please go ahead.
So I just wish to thank the organizers of this meeting. It's been so exciting to know that the voices are being sustained. Voices of SDG16 are being sustained even during this pandemic. My question is directed to Loretta. I wish to understand more how the traditional and religious leaders in Nigeria are committed in ensuring community response to COVID-19, because I want to learn that experience, because in Cameroon, it's been a situation where most people are thinking that the coronavirus has come to stay with the people, and the measures are sometimes not very respected by the community members. So in Nigeria, the case of Nigeria, how are the traditional and religious leaders ensuring that the community members are keeping to the safety measures during this time? Thank you, Loretta.
Loretta, can you unmute?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, please.
So actually in Nigeria, it has not been easy because, right from the onset, the government did not see it or did make necessary, to employ the components of CSOs and the religious bodies and the NGOs. So the information was at the top there at the national level, even to trickle to the states were a bit difficult. And then because of that, some of the NGOs and CSOs did not bother. But eventually, when we saw the way it was coming, NGOs had to move into the communities, and the NGOs were able to reach out to some of the religious bodies and religious organizations. And actually, they have actually been doing so much work. These things are all actually different, folks for different things for different folks. So they have actually, some of them has actually imbibed it, and they are preaching it in their churches, they are preaching it in all their groups. Even when they come online to do their church service, they keep announcing that COVID is real. But the thing is that we Nigerians are not taking it serious. 3/4 of the time we believe it's a political issue. The government wants to make money out of it, and we are not believing that seriously COVID is real. So it is not only in Cameroon. I think it's almost like that in all the West African countries, because I keep interacting with some of the people in the platforms where I belong, and it's almost the same story. People do not believe that truly there's something like COVID-19, because the key messages and information was not passed to the grassroots from the onset. They allow the fake news to take over. So by the time the real key messages started coming, nobody believed anymore. So it is what we need to continue to work on, even as peace advocates. It is important, because health is also a security issue. If we are not alive, we cannot be preaching peace. So it is important that all hands are on deck, that we make sure and ensure that we recover properly and make people understand the essence of what we are saying. That one-on-one engagement is still very important, because 3/4 of the people cannot afford to listen to radio, cannot buy newspapers, cannot watch televisions because of a power issue. They don't have money to buy batteries, and a lot of them also just have little phones. They don't have Android phones to access information on the internet. So this is why the community engagement is important. Thank you very much, Justin. I hope I was able to give you enough information on the question you asked. Hello?
Yes, we hear you.
Hello?
Hello?
Okay, Justin, I hope Justin understood my response, or do I need to add more?
No, thank you, Loretta. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate. Yeah.
Okay, you understood my. Okay.
Thank you. Gadotpa, you want to come in? I see you raise your hand. So.
Yes, actually, I want to go back to the Sophia question about the youth and how they can help the community like to achieve the SDG16. I want to talk about like program here in International Legal Foundation Palestine. We are focusing on the kids, and as I mentioned in my speech about this thing, almost like our cases, it's like for the kids. So we created program just like to positive, we called it positive youth development. So we try to help the kids to be away from the justice system and to let them involve in a positive way in the community. So just like to shift them from being like involved as juveniles or accused in the justice system, to help the community to help the community and to be positive in this community. So we have this program, and this program is really focused on the kids out of the justice system, help them to be aware of the justice system, and let them be like to achieve the really positive outcomes and to have the resources for the community.
Allow me to, there's another question related to youth and youth activism sent in by Linrose from the Philippines. Maybe Gadanfa, you can also reflect on that. There's in the context of COVID-19, we have also seen that social media and the internet has been used as platforms to actually exert control and to perpetuate violence. The question is whether and how youth activists can protect themselves and how they can harness themselves against this kind of violence in digital spaces, so to say.
Can I come on, Peter?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so for this question, I think it's very, very important question. I maybe highlighted during my presentation the risk for using internet or to advocate on internet. And here, to be safe on the internet or to make ourselves safe, we need to focus in two aspects. First, to understand what is the legislation, what is the legal situation of using the internet in your own country. For example, in some country, MENA region, if you use a VPN, that's a crime. So the first thing, you have to understand what you are doing on the internet in terms of law. The secondly, which is very important, to know how to use the digital tools, the safe digital tools. For example, if you are activist, you have to use Signal, not WhatsApp, to use Jitsi, not Zoom, to use Proton Mail, not Gmail if you are so here you have to do analysis for risks that you are doing, analysis for yourself as activist, analysis for your organization, your office, which location are you working on, what applications are you using, what kind of internet tools, and are you using like Windows or Linux? So that's something very, very important. And we noted during the pandemic, it's still many activists in last couple of months arrested because of like some of them using VPN or some posting on Facebook. So that's why we are now as a Justice Call doing some digital security training for our volunteers, our team, our partners in Middle East. And maybe I mentioned now we are doing like training course just started yesterday and continue in next 4 days with our GPAC MENA members. So I hope I answered your question.
Great, thank you very much, Khaled. Ola has also raised her hand. Ola?
Yeah. To answer the same question, I guess, although we had some problems because of the outbreak of COVID-19, we have also to look for the good side. Now you can use the internet to reach more people. A lot of people don't have to go to schools, they work online, so the number of audience on the internet has increased. You can also reach to people of different community groups, ages, and experiences. So for youth activists and young activists, now you have a space to present your ideas and thoughts and advocate for your issues. So what you have to do is to use it correctly. You can implement a lot of projects online. What you have to do is that you have to be aware that and for the different thoughts and ages and community groups of your audience. So it is a good chance for you, but you have to use it carefully.
Thank you, Ola. Anybody else from the voices who wants to comment to this specific question? Then there is another question asked by my colleague Pascal, whether you can elaborate a little bit more on the model of localization that you are using it and how it looks like, how you're working on the localization of the agenda in the context of Uganda, and how donors and member states potentially can support that better. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. We have the localization model that I talked about. It's a part of the report that I shared the link in the chat, so everybody can be able to access. But briefly, we wanted to come up with this model, and we collected voices from the ground using one of the districts in Uganda called the Kabong district, asking the question of how should localization look like, and what needs to be done, and how does it, how should it be implemented? Some of the key issues that came out were around the principles that should be adhered to and how it should be done. One is around the issue of ownership, which should be at the center. Another one is around ensuring active participation beyond just attending. Another one is around ensuring that there are strengthened local structures and coordination mechanisms to be able even to ensure implementation and lead in the implementation and be able to collect data. Something to do around continuous constructive dialogue between the right holders and the duty bearers, just to check and do the review, and around localized indicators, because the community members were saying we have the global indicators, yes, but they don't make sense, they don't make meaning at the local context. So we need to come up with our own localized indicators, but which have to be aligned to the national agenda and the global indicators. So those were some of the key issues that came out, and as I said, it's shared.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay, a question from my colleague from the Philippines. So Carissa Chua asked, coming from the education sector, in what ways do you think the government, CSOs and the youth themselves, how can they support the youth who have stopped their schooling due to the pandemic? If yes, so if anyone could share. Oh, okay, so Gandafar, please. Gandafar.
Okay, about your question about if they stop their education, I feel like the kids who can do well, they can do well. So we have to help them to think about themselves, what they can do during this. Like this COVID-19 is it's attacking all of the world. So I think it's great if you can, by raising the awareness for the kids and the community around the kids, if you can raising the awareness that every single one has his role in this community. He can do something. You can just let him know, or but the confidence, let him feel that he is confident about himself. So just give him the role, and he can go and he can do the will. What he can do, he will do. Not just direct him to something, just let him share about his opinion. Let him share about his decision of this life and his life.
Thank you, Kadampa. Being cognizant of the time, I want to give the 5 finalists a final word, maybe one sentence to conclude this session, after which I will say a few concluding remarks. But Khaled, do you want to start first? Maybe one sentence, one takeaway. How do you proceed from here? Is Khaled still online?
I think his screen froze. Maybe we can pass it to someone.
Ola, can I ask you to go first then?
Yeah, I'm telling just everyone to not to lose hope and work hard, believe in what you're doing, and tomorrow everything is going to change. What you need require hard work and time. You might not see that things are changing quickly, but things are going to be better one day.
Thank you for that hopeful message, Ola. I mean, we will work with you to make it happen. Yeah, Patrick, can we move to you?
Thank you very much. I think my last message is to ensure that we invest in peace and conflict prevention to be able to move from reaction to prevention as the best and most effective strategy of building peace. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm fascinated that you can keep these strong messages within a few words. I mean, you're very powerful, yeah? Loretta, over to you. Final words. You have to unmute yourself. I don't hear you. Kadamfa, can we go to you then first?
Okay, so I think we are all facing the COVID-19 challenge together. So we need legal aid to have like justice for all. So the quality legal aid, and just to achieve the justice and to make the justice reality for the all.
Thank you. Khaled, can we have your final words?
Yes, do you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so like my final words will be that partnerships and it's very essential for civil society organization. Like, let's be united. For us, from our own experience, our partnership with many professional networks such as GPAC, Tab Network, and others was very, very important, powerful. So let's stay strong together. Thank you.
Thank you. Loretta, are you unmuted now?
Yes, yes.
Final word from your end?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
The final remark from your end. One sentence.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, my final reward is that, yeah, the inequality and poverty is staring us in the face, and the margin keeps widening every day. So we need to all work together to make sure that this inequality and poverty is reduced, and also that the world leaders also will listen to us and make sure that the public fund is being injected into making sure that inequalities and poverties are reduced drastically. And we can all do this because we all need to take responsibility for our lives. We all can actually raise critical mass to question our government on what they are doing, to alleviate the poverty and close up the gap between the inequalities. The big businesses and the small businesses need to understand themselves, and they also need to understand that also we need to implement these things at the grassroots. Our social responsibility is important, that these big businesses and the small businesses does what? Collaborate and partner with the local indigenous people whom they are operating in their land, so that we, at the end of the day, environmental impact will be negative environmental impact will be reduced, inequalities will go, poverty will go, and all of us will be operating in the same level, because that is the language of SDG. Leave no man behind. And leaving no one behind means that we are all living in peace. So peace building is at the center of all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Loretta. And these are all very powerful final messages from the finalists from this year. To me, and I hope for all in the call, this has been a fascinating meeting with great contributions and great videos. And I'm extremely thankful to those who have participated in this year's event and submitted their videos for the Voices of SDG 16+ campaign. it now comes to translating what you have heard into meaningful action and support local actors and local peace builders in their work. So for all those with the power to help change things, please do so and join us in that campaign. In terms of follow-up, this is the second iteration what I said. So we hope to be in touch with the voices of 2020 and bring them in touch with the voices of 2019 and work towards a next iteration of the campaign for next year. So this is not the last time that you have heard of us, and we look forward to continuing the partnership with civil society organizations which have spearheaded this campaign. Let me thank first and foremost the voices of 2020 for your contributions, for your videos, for your efforts in being with us today, but also for sharing your stories. This is extremely powerful. Thank you also to the alumni, both who have spoken and who have been part of this call. And a big thank you to Bianca for being the co-moderator together with me. I mean, this has been a great pleasure. Thank you for that. I would also like to thank the partners. I mentioned them in the beginning of the call, 11 organizations who have joined hands, who feel this is needed to be brought to the fore, hearing the voices of SDG16+, hearing local stories on what is happening and what needs support. And first, and finally, I mean, let me thank you all who are in the call. There's still 60 people online. I think at one point we had around 100 people close in participating in the event. So thank you for being with us, and we will keep you informed about next steps on the voices, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.